This is the Lippin Putts Podcast here in the Woodward Sports Studio. It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks, Sam.
3 weeks, yeah.
We are back, though. We're here back. Sorry, I didn't do a good job at letting our listeners know that we were kind of going on 2 weeks of not doing a show. But I think a lot of our avid golfers, diehards, anyone in the golf world, I think they're kind of like realized everything's coming to a nice halt here in the golf world.
Yeah, and plus what we saw with the LIV Team Championship this past weekend, we were like, it'd probably be better to wait one more week and do a recap on it instead of preview, because quite honestly, there's not a lot to preview. We don't get a lot of info on it. So.
Right. And, I mean, what happened, and I know we'll get to it, what happened is not like there was no surprise to it.
Yeah,
really.
But it was fun still. Yeah. I enjoed it.
But
how have you been? 3 weeks?
Yeah, how have you been?
Playing a little golf, leaving for Austin, Texas tomorrow for a nice little golf trip, so that'll be fun. But yeah, just it was nice last weekend, so I was able to golf what I thought was probably my last couple rounds in Michigan. Was able to enjoy the Michigan State tailgate. No one's head got caved in by a helmet or anything like that. So what about you?
Yeah, same. I played twice, actually. I hadn't played since we went down to Inverness.
Yep.
And then I played in a hardest day of golf on Friday of last week, and then I played in a 4-club and a putter, like just little like friend, or not friends, but my girlfriend's dad's friends. Like we're having guys out and doing that.
I didn't see you that day.
I saw you. When I was on 7's tee box, you were on 4 north or 5 north fairway. I tried waving.
Were you in? Because was there only 8 of them, or was there 12?
There was 8 of us.
Were you in? So you were in the first group.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Okay, because I saw the second group come by, and I was like, I swear I thought Leach was playing in this, but
yeah. And then you guys were still on 5's green, and I had snap hooked a 3-wood into the shit on the left.
Okay.
I was really expecting you guys to start chirping me, and you didn't. So thankful.
I was probably in my own little world.
But yeah. So I mean, I did not. I hit the ball. Better than I thought I would for not playing in almost a month. But man, it's almost like coming out of winter cold. My short game was just abysmal, especially with the wedges. Not so much putting the first day, yes, just because it was hardest day of golf, but I skull fucked probably 10 shots.
Yeah, no, it's the first thing that goes whenever you take time off. And like, I totally can relate. I mean, I basically had taken 2-3 weeks off, and then I was like, okay, nice weekend, I'll play twice, and the following weekend I played once before this Austin trip. But I didn't hit the balls substantially different than I normally do. They're most basic chips, where I'd like to think I'm trying to make it or something. It was like, not only am I not making it, I'm not making a par. I'm not getting up and down on like what was a simple pitching wedge bump and run. So, no, I totally can relate. So you were on last Friday, the hardest day. Why was it so hard? Windy?
No, it was kind of like the Greenskeeper Revenge.
Oh, okay, got it.
Pins,
so I was like, I played Friday. I didn't think it was that hard.
It wasn't at Walnut. It was at Plum Hollow.
Yeah,
so I was at Plum Hollow over there in Southfield, and they put like all the pins, like
the Greenkeeper's Revenge.
It was a scramble. It was a 2-man scramble. I was like, damn. We were off to we played the first hole, number 8. If you played there before, it's a short dog leg to the right.
Yeah, par 5.
Par 5. Somehow it's rated as the hardest hole on the course now. Which
the way they rate handicaps is weird now.
Yeah, it's very questionable.
I think they try to pick the holes that they think the higher handicap could use the shot the most, and so that hole's like a one where a good, people who hit the ball far, lower handicaps, they're making birdie.
So we were on it too, and had 10 feet, and we 3-putted from 10 feet in a scramble, a 2-man scramble.
Hey, I did that. The day you did your 4-club chain, we did a mini Ironman where we did scramble, alt shot, and best ball, and we 3-putted for par on the third hole in a scramble.
Yeah, so I was like, that was and that was our first hole. I was like, all right, we'll just get the the little flusters out, and it would just never got.
How long was the second putt you missed? Did you race?
Well, the way we were putting, it was on top of like a mountain.
Yeah. So you were gonna have 6 feet.
So we had 10 feet, and then we had like 8 feet coming back.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not like you both missed like a 3-footer. So.
No. We just missed it.
People are gonna deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, somehow the winner shot, I think, like 7 under.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Which still. Cheaters.
But either way, yeah, so we're gonna. There's been 3 PGA Tour events. We got a few more before the rest of the season. The LIV Golf stuff finished. So I think there's a little bit to recap on that, and then some drama in the world of golf. Not a ton, but like PGA Tour released their elevated events. Just some stuff to touch on. But I guess before we get into the LIV stuff in the team championship, we wanted to address the 3 previous PGA Tour events.
Yeah, which I mean wasn't, besides maybe the Zozo. I think the Zozo was good.
The first 2 were exciting ones to watch. Now, the hard part is I don't know how many people are watching them. The nice thing about Zozo, they were in Japan, so it finished weirder time.
Right.
I remember, I think I woke up middle of the night on Sunday morning I went to bed as they were teed off because Ricky Fowler was in contention. We were talking about, was he? Or was that a different one?
No, I think that was...
Was that Tom Kim's? Am I mixed him up?
Yes, that was...
Who did Keegan know? I'm going to find this out.
I can't remember who he was going against, but...
No, it was Ricky.
Was it Ricky?
Yeah, Ricky. So he was in the final group.
Did we already talk about no.
I felt like we already did, but no, you picked him for the Zozo. That's why.
Oh, okay.
So Ricky was in contention, so I watched him tee off, fell asleep, woke up with they had 4 holes to play.
And we texted about it too.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
That's why I got confused.
Ricky lost by 1. He birdied the last hole. He was down 2. So it wasn't like he had chance. I mean, he had a chance going in, but either way, Ricky lost by 1 to Keegan Bradley.
I felt like it was like 2011 all over again.
I know.
Watching Keegan and Ricky kind of duke it out.
Don't forget Andrew Putnam.
Yeah, that is
Pride
true.
of Pepperdine.
Shout out to Carl, who left his bag and went to Sahis.
Yeah, exactly. But big win for Keegan. He was pretty emotional after the win at the Zozo Championship. He talked about how much it meant, how much he's been working toward it. We're obviously gutted for BDR, Big Dick Rick.
Yep.
But
so it's still another step in the right direction.
Here's the thing. He basically, we talked about, qualified for the FedEx Cup last year because of the LIV guys who bailed. And they got taken off the 125, so I think he had finished the year at like 135, but because of that, he was either the second or last man in and got in his FedEx Cup, was able to retain his card. Well, now he's had 2 good finishes. Based on where he's at, and you looked at last year where the points were to make the playoffs, he needs 10 more points, I think, the rest of the season, and he should most likely qualify for the playoffs. Now, they're only doing 70 retention of cards this year, so there's that.
Yep.
But if you're talking about a guy who's had a good fall and started where he's at, he's almost playing with house money now.
Yeah, which is, for him, is he going to continue to keep playing is the question. Because we're getting that time of year now, right, where all the big guys, Rory, JT, Max Homa, all these guys, shout out to Max Homa, just had his first kid.
Yeah.
But all these guys are starting to get in their quote-unquote holiday break where you won't see them for 6 to 7 weeks at times.
Yeah, no, and that's, I'll try to, we'll pull up obviously the field for this week. I mean, it's Mayakoba. It's not going to be a great field. There's usually some guys play at the one at Houston. But yeah, I think most guys are done. They're packing it in for a little bit. I mean, Homo said he's I'm taking 8 weeks off. Rory's not going to touch a club. So interesting stuff. But I guess speaking of Rory, the following week they had the CJ Cup. Originally, it was in Korea. Probably the last 2 years, it's been at Congaree, which is a new course in Carolina.
Yep.
Really cool golf course, actually. They don't have a lot of fans. It's a cool venue for this event, and I think it's a good. I mean, you're gonna get fans, but it's a good event where you can limit it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so because of the COVID, CJ's still been in now. I think next year it's gonna go back to somewhere in Korea, but another fun event. And with the win Rory had, he became number 1 in the freaking world.
Yeah,
and
is good for the golf world, right? And well, I guess if you're a big LIV supporter, you don't like to see that move happen, but it makes sense to see a guy and nothing against Scotty Scheffler whatsoever, but it makes sense for a guy like Rory, even a guy like DJ, Tiger Woods, just one of the household names to be the number 1 player in the world. It just makes it seem like, the golf's in a good spot, even though a lot of people will argue that it's not right now. But to me, it seems like it's going to make the springtime fun, I think, around here.
Well, and so here's there's a lot we can talk about, and I want to talk about what our expectations are for Rory heading into next season. But before we get to that, I'm curious your thoughts on, obviously this LIV thing was a big catalyst, and it was a catalyst to him having to be outspoken and really take the PGA Tour on his back.
Yep.
Being the guy who's, I'm going to garner a lot of this pressure. I'm going to have to answer a lot of these freaking questions because we all know Jay Monahan wouldn't do that. And so I'm wondering, was this just he's been improving a lot, and was it just everything finally kind of clicked midway through the year, or do you think that this LIV Golf stuff lit a little bit of a fire in his ass and gave him something to really work towards and want to win to prove certain points?
Yeah, it's kind of both. They both seem linear, right? As the more the LIV Golf stuff came out, the better he played. Because even going back to the Masters, it was kind of the same old story about. Shot himself out of the first couple days, had a phenomenal last day. Mm-hmm. I think shot 67 on the last day and got into solo second.
Yeah.
So he had the same storyline, but then as I think they just kind of coincide. We were starting to see a better trend in his putting to begin with. So I just think, yes, the LIV Golf happened to be happening at the same time. I don't necessarily think they're one happened because of the other.
Yeah, I would agree.
I will say there was added motivation for him, that's for sure. But I think regardless, he was on track to play some pretty damn good golf this season.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think like for us to sit here, and the reason I brought it up, a lot of people were saying like some of that he can credit to the LIV fight, like lighting a fire under his ass. I don't think that's the case, because it's not like all of a sudden he just started hitting his wedges way better because he cared more. And it's like, no, that was something he's been working at for a long time. If you remember when DJ came on the scene, he was a bad wedge player. And what did he do? He worked at it. He became one of the best wedge players in the game. Rory started like that, but he had kind of lost that ability where he'd put himself in such a great spot, but he was not capitalizing on it. Now he is, and that's not something that just clicks overnight. That's something you've been working at for a full year or something. And so,
yeah, and it's not, like you said, it doesn't just happen because of added motivation.
Correct.
Like,
and
all these guys are motivated to do something. Tiger Woods is motivated to get back playing golf. Doesn't mean he's going to play good golf.
Exactly. So, I do think there's an aspect of that fire definitely helped him want to win more, but I don't think that was the reason he played well. And so I thought it was worth talking about. But yeah, number one in the world again. It was number one back in, I think it was like 2012 when he had to get picked off a bunch of those majors. So 10 years later, pretty crazy to think with how many young guys have come in the game. It's hard because we expect a guy to be like this for our entire lives because of what Tiger Woods had done. I mean, even past there, up until basically when Tiger kind of stopped being number one in the world consistently, it was like 25 years. You had 7 guys or 8 guys who had been number one in the world. And in that sense, then you've had a lot more. And it's something that's going to change over time, but the consistency of a player to be able to do that.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I'm going to go back and do some research for next week now, or for, 2 weeks when we possibly record again. But I want to look up how many guys have become number one, lost that ranking, and then gone back to number one. Because in my opinion, that's not something that happens very commonly. Like, it's only happened with a few players that been able to do that, and I'm sure somebody listening to this is going to know right off the top of their head, but that's not something that that's an accomplishment in itself. And I think that's it's a great test to just his own game and how great of a player he's been for a long time.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm trying to pull up players who've ever been ranked number one in the world, and you saw Rory took a shot. He wants to be ranked more than Greg Norman. He made a comment about that. Of
course he did.
But to answer your question, basically it looks like in the early 90s, it was a lot of the same, there's 3 or 4 guys battling, and it was Faldo, Woosnam, Greg Norman, Nick Price got in there, Fred Couples, but they held on to it and then they gave it up pretty quickly. They held on to it, then they gave it up because there was just so much jockeying, and then all of a sudden Tiger had it forever.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk about the new wave of golf, since Tiger kind of gave it up, you had Lee Westwood, Martin Keimer, Luke Donald. Those guys are obsolete now.
Correct.
I mean, I'm not saying they're bad. They're just not number one players in the world.
And they never will be.
Yeah. Now, Rory was number one in 2012 for the first time. He only had it for 2 weeks then and quickly kind of lost it. But yeah, I mean, wow, Adam Scott was number one at one point. I never knew that.
Was that right after he won the Masters, I presume?
It was 2014. It had to be right
Okay, so it
there.
was so he won it, 2013. So he played pretty good that entire season.
Yeah.
And then eventually got to it. So,
but if we're talking about a 10-year gap, it's Tiger and Rory. Obviously, DJ, I think I'm trying to see when he was number one in the world. For the first time, he became in 2017. So, he's always stayed around there. And, Brooks had lost it but got it back. But that was really quickly when a lot of guys were jockeying.
Right.
To go from getting it in 2012 to now getting it again, that's the crazy thing I think we think about. Now, Rory's only been number one in the world for 108 weeks in his career, which is a little over 2 years.
Which is that's a
lot.
That's what,
but
4th or 5th most all time?
I think so. I'll find that out for you, too, here.
Because I believe it goes, if I, I'm going to guess this right while we're recording live. I'm going to guess Tiger is 1.
Yep.
2, Norman.
Yep. There's one person ahead of Rory then. Who's 3rd?
3, VJ Scene.
No, DJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And DJ spread it across.
Is VJ in the top 5, though?
So it'd go DJ. No, then it was Faldo.
Oh.
So it'd go Rory, then Faldo. Sorry. So, yeah. So 5 guys.
And the rankings only started back in 1986. I do know that.
Yep.
So, you're leaving off
there's
guys
no Jack, Arnie,
yeah.
Seve even was there for a little bit.
Don't you think they could, somehow go back and give those ranking points and do it, is there any way, or is
I'm sure you could if
but
you
no,
wanted
it's
to.
official World Golf.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe it's because of, all the sub-events that you'd have to go look back to.
Plus, there's no LIV then, so is it even...
Maybe, I was going to say, maybe the Lippin Putts podcast takes that on as a. But yeah, no,
I don't know.
I think,
but either way, I think it's just worth calling out. I mean, he's the longevity of that career. Like DJ had spread it over a course of 5 years, and I'm not saying DJ's not, but to be number one in the world 10 years apart, that's one other guy's done it, and it's Tiger fucking Woods. So
yeah, I mean, you're in elite category, and that's crazy too. You would think I would think at this point he's been around for so long, and I wonder if he'll ever have like regrets about it. Is like, should Rory have more than just 3 majors right now?
Well, he's got 4.
Or 4, excuse me. That's what I meant to say.
I mean, the quick answer is yeah. I mean, he had 4 majors
very quickly.
And then now he hasn't. I mean, it's hard because you can talk about like expected win, and there's all those analytics in all these different sports of like expected hits or pitching or expected goals in hockey, all these different things, and you can talk about expected wins. And like, I'm sure if you looked at his major season and said he's going to shoot these 4 cumulative scores, I bet you he'd have like an expected win of like 1.5 majors this past season. But all it takes is one guy to beat you. So I think I guess that can talk. Like, what's your expectation for next year? He's not going to touch a club till basically January. I don't think. Maybe he plays in the that one tournament that Tiger hosts or whatever. It's like a 20-person field. And
when we did our predictions right a couple weeks ago, like I'm pretty sure I said he was going to win the Masters.
Yeah, you did.
I'm pretty sure that was, and I've been on that horse pretty much ever since he left Augusta last year.
So here's I think he's going to be number 1 for a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be as dominant when he comes back. I mean, he's dominant right now. His floor is like a top 10 finish at any tournament he plays in.
Mm-hmm.
I just, one, that's hard to keep, but what happened at the beginning of COVID? He was by far the number 1 player in the world. He was going to win the Masters. It was like, this was the coronation of his career, finally. He was dominating everything he was playing, and then COVID hit. Now, different than taking your own, layoff that you're planning. That was something that was a layoff we didn't really know what the timeline was. But he came back, and he wasn't the same guy. It's hard to continue that competitive edge. It's the same thing we see in professional sports. A team could win a 4-game series in the semis while another team's playing a 7-game battle. You take 8 days off. Maybe it takes a game or 2 to get back to that competitive edge.
Yeah, it's the rest versus rust debate.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's, I don't know. Something just feels different.
I hope
about
you're right.
Rory.
I hope you're right.
Like, again, it comes down to what we talked about. His short game and his putting. It just seems like it's kind of the best it's ever been. So, like, that's why I firmly, and he just seems in, like, such a good headspace. I do think, now I will say, now, as much as, like, the LIV stuff and the PGA Tour versus all that, I do think that helps him moving forward to kind of be the flagship guy of that.
Yeah, I mean,
so especially if the LIV guys are able to play in the majors, I think that's just it's more not fuel to the fire. And I'm not saying it's any more added motivation. Again, that does not correlate to playing better golf, but it does help keep you, I think, that mindset through the off season.
Yeah, and for sure. No, I think I hope that's the case. And he'll have some tournaments to get back and get right.
We do need to see another Grand Slam soon, because who's the last one? Tiger's the last one to do it, right?
Yeah. Spieth's one away.
Yeah, we got
Rory's one away. Those are the 2 who are one away, right?
Yeah, I think
because Brooks only had U.S. Opens and PGAs.
Yeah, and then you could say Phil, but I don't.
Oh yeah, Phil's one away too. U.S. Open.
Yeah, Phil's never. I don't. Well, I mean,
he's got He's got 3 more or 4 more years at it because of the PGA Championship.
Yeah, well, and don't never say never, because I never thought a lot of people never thought he'd win a major. A lot of people never thought Tiger would win a major again.
Exactly. So
watch, Tiger comes back, wins the Open, the PGA, and the
without the Masters
and the U.S. Open. No, because he got the Masters in 2019. Like, he completes he does the career Grand Slam again.
Slam, yeah. Okay, I love that.
That would be hot.
Following week, or this past Sunday, Seamus Power, the Irishman, gets to top 30 in the world, wins the Bermuda Butterfield Championship. Wakefield, all that there is to say is one of the better players won the event. I don't really know if there's much more to talk about. I was more in tune to the LIV Golf team event than I was this event. Nothing against. It's just, look, there's a lot of stuff going on, and
like to this one, like this event, when you see this one, it's, to me, it's kind of the same one of, what's the one that they do out in Tahoe during the
I know what you're talking about. I'm blanking on
Barracuda.
Yeah.
Like, it's just an elevated Corn Ferry Tour event. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, and well, here's the, now I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a sec. So, this event, fucking garbage field. We've talked about it ad nauseum. I'm not taking any credit away from Seamus Power. I'm not taking any credit. Like you're going to have bad fields. That's just the case, especially in these events. You're going to have bad ones. But where I have issues again is I'm pulling up the field now, is guys who were playing in this field, and some of them were actually competitive. But, like, they made the Corn Ferry, I follow them on Instagram, they, like, posted, they had 4 guys in the Corn Ferry who, like, have status on the Corn Ferry who played in this event.
Yep.
One is actually playing in final Q school for Corn, so he doesn't even have status that they were, like, promoting. Why is it, especially, like, I get sometimes there's weeks where, like, there's a Corn Ferry event. Hey, I want to go get points in the Corn Ferry event, not the FedEx Cup, because that'll help me for getting my card. They don't have that this week. Why is it that DJ Trahan, that, like, Ben Crane shot fucking 62. He was leading after 2 rounds. Why are some of these guys getting exemptions over guys who are on the Corn Ferry Tour who deserve more to play? Like, Akshay played this week. I don't even know if he made the cut or not. People are going to rip, hey, he missed the cut. Other guys competed. But my whole point is, to some degree, give these young guys spots. And I get these old dudes, they can go have a good round once a week or every now and then. And they do. Like, I want to see more younger guys getting more starts, whether it's sponsored exemptions, whether it's more Corn Ferry players. Here's an opportunity. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, but people are going to make the argument of those guys earned it and these guys haven't earned it yet. So that's where.
But, like, just because they earned it 8 years ago doesn't mean that they should keep doing it. Like, hey, Brett Favre won a playoff game in 2008. Should he, like, go quarterback a team instead of Sam Ehlinger? Not, like, again, like, people probably are like, yeah, Sam Ehlinger sucks. But
guess who else played in this field? I didn't look at it.
Just tell me.
Never mind. I thought it was
kill me.
It was well, people would argue this was a great field because John Daly was playing.
Yeah, missed the cut.
He did. Well, that he did.
Like, Aaron Badley, top 6. Like, good for you. Give a fuck. Like,
yeah, I mean,
let me go to last places. That's just JJ Henry in the field. What? Keep going down. Yeah, John Daly, like, that's another one I'll complain about. But he moves the needle.
Yeah, he does. He does move the needle. Ooh, gotta give a special shout out to Willie Mack III, Flint native.
So he was one of the Corn Ferry guys.
He was one of the Corn. He just earned his Corn Ferry card.
So he's in finals Q school. That's what I was. Maybe he's trying to get more status then.
I think he already earned his card. I'm pretty sure.
By the way, Akshay T17, no big deal.
But yeah, I mean, shout out to Willie Mack. You gotta brag on the Michigan guys. No, he did not make the cut, but he made the field. Ryan Brem, another Michigan guy, didn't make the cut.
Ben Crane started 66-62, had the fucking lead going into the weekend. What did he shoot on the weekend? 73-76, T49.
I mean, hey, this field is tough. These guys are good, or as the model.
Just like say. That's Greg. Like, some of these guys don't deserve to be in these events. I don't. Maybe deserves the wrong word there. I clearly am away on this soapbox. But like Kim Swan. All I heard about this guy was on another podcast, and it reminded me when I was looking at 28 over. Second worst place after that was Ryan Brem at 6 over.
Yeah, I was gonna knock that, but who's the guy in the LIV Golf? The one guy in the LIV Golf that shot like
he shot 66 the next day.
That's what I'm saying.
So Kim Swan is like a 75-year-old guy, I guess, who carries the ball 230 yards or something. He's done a lot with the tour or done a lot for this event, so I think they gave him like a special like start. But like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, so why is this guy playing? He goes 89-81. Like, give a Corn Ferry guy a spot. Like, hey, you know, I did a lot of work volunteering for the Rocket Mortgage Classic, so give me a spot so I can go shoot my 87-87. By all means, I would love that. I would absolutely love it. But why the fuck do I deserve that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So Kim Swan, I got it up here. 65-year-old. People are gonna call you racist. He is African American. So. Okay, well now I'm okay with it. It had nothing to do with I'm just going but straight. He hit the honorary tee shot. So. Swan was one of 12 sponsor invites this week.
I guess I just don't like.
And Ben Crane was an alternate and got offered a sponsor exemption. I'm trying to see why he got that.
I just like maybe the Corn Ferry guy's like, I'm not going to spend this much money to go to Bermuda to play in an event, maybe miss cut. I don't know.
Why, all right, I see your grief a little bit. So Swan, who's from Bermuda, played golf in Troy, where the Trojans finished 4th, 1979 Division II championship. Blah blah blah. He was a teaching pro at Port Royal Golf Course.
Yeah, so like he's done like I like you can rationalize it like so cool. Give him the opening tee shot. Don't give him a fucking spot in the field.
Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of it, but
I appreciate.
I do see your side of it too, where it was a 67th birthday or 65th birthday.
Yeah, again, it goes down to if I'm James Pyatt, we use this name a lot, and he probably doesn't get it, or just insert college golfer name here, or traveling mini tour pro. If I have an option to go play for a couple $1 million guaranteed, when I'm not getting starts because they're giving stuff to Ben Crane and Kim Swan, you can't get mad at those guys for doing it.
Yeah. I mean, and it was like, to me, all it was just to be a feel good story.
Yeah, I know.
But maybe that's why they did it, is because like the field is so bad. Like that's the only way to drive publicity. Like, listen,
we're sponsors. They can do what they want.
We're here talking about it, aren't we?
Yeah,
so
you're
like
right.
that's
so. We've spent more time talking about the Butterfield Bermuda Championship than anything else we're going to probably talk about this week.
Well, and that's I guess they did their job with they want to cause anarchy and get guys like you fired up about it. So mission accomplished.
It fucking worked.
Now people are going to go look at Kim Swan and call you an asshole because like it's a great feel-good story for an old guy.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he took a sabats from someone else.
Yeah.
Maybe he did. Maybe they were literally like, we were begging people to take it. He was the only one who was like around. They had a late dropout or something, and they had to fill the field. It didn't sound like
Ben Crane was in, and all of a sudden he was in.
So, I'm going complete surface level, but I'm just saying it's annoying, and I'm going to keep.
Where's our sponsor exemption?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
I can shoot it.
Yeah. Do you think you could shoot 89, 81 in the Butterfield Bermuda Championship?
I feel like I could do that.
My thought is like,
time out. Based on the way I chipped last weekend, probably not.
My thought is just more like, if you sent me out there and said, go like shoot 85, 85 both rounds, I think I could do that if I was trying to shoot 85. But if I was like trying to shoot a good score, I'm not going to play as smart. I'm going to make shots that are going to be fully off the planet. So.
Yeah, I want to know, like, did he, in order to play in the event, he had to play the same tees. It's not like he could have played forward tees.
Yeah,
so.
And they said his average carry was like 232.
Just playing like 7,200 yards.
Yeah,
I don't know how long it is.
You can't miss it that far left and right when you don't hit that far. So
yeah, that's true.
Whatever. Either way, we spent way too much on that. Next week is it's the Mayakoba. Tony Finau's in the field, Taylor Montgomery, and Scotty Scheffler. Those are like the big names. That's really it.
There's two big names. You keep like Taylor Montgomery. Taylor Montgomery's a big name to you.
He's Cam Young this year. He's going to be Cam Young.
All right, well, that's right. You're calling your shot. So I'll roll back the tape here in like the middle of the summer, like when he's.
I said this before the season started.
You did, no, 100%. You said that. You did say that, but like to the average casual golf fan, like it's still not a big name.
Oh, they're gonna have no clue. Yeah,
exactly. He is a big name to you.
I appreciate you keeping me out. Like, no one's gonna be like, who the fuck?
Big name, Taylor Montgomery.
Hey, he's currently in the top 10 for the Comcast Business Tour, top 10 of the FedEx Cup. He's in 9th place, so watch out. Rory's in 6th, just for the record.
Jesus.
All right. Back to normal stuff. But all right, we'll move over to LIV Golf now, just so everyone can move on. PGA Tour's got 3 more weeks, but yeah. So we're not going to touch much on it, but during that 3-week span, there was LIV Golf Jeddah. Brooks Koepka picked up the W.
Which, by the way, not to shit on it. Actually, no, let's start. We'll talk more about it after.
Just briefly, I just wanted to mention Brooks got a win. He said it was a huge win. Got kind of emotional.
Yeah. Do you think that was
the fuck out?
All right. Do you?
I think he's
that,
trolling.
Do you think? Yeah. I thought it was kind of like forced.
Yeah.
Because Brooks has never give a fuck about anything in his entire life.
Like exactly. I think he was kind of like, cool. I can rub some dirt. I can twist the knife. Like I'm gonna make this a bigger deal than it is.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Which is funny. Like personally, I'm all for Brooks doing that.
Yeah, I was like, that would be Brooks's personality.
Like, steer into what I think LIV is, which is a living meme, and I love it. Like I don't love LIV. I love the living aspect of the meme.
Love to live the meme.
Yeah.
No, I saw the interview and I was like, something about this just not. It was so off brand for him to get emotional like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's got to be selling this. This is all a sell job.
Oh yeah.
And that's all I got out of it. I don't think it was.
It was a great playoff against his teammate Peter Uihlein.
Yeah, I mean, they're all hooting and hollering out there.
Yeah.
Which, all right, so I guess that leads me to where I was going to say a couple minutes. There was nobody there.
At Jeddah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, first off, it's not like in Jeddah. I guess it's like an hour and a half outside of Jeddah. So it'd be like, hey, LIV Golf Detroit, and we're going to play up in like Gaylord. Or not, I mean,
that's fair.
Saginaw or something. Which, like, I don't know enough world geography, but what I've gathered is it's not like a very populous city.
Yeah, but like, so why?
But like, what other events have they had where there was a lot of people there? Other than like, you have the main groups that have some fans at it in the United States.
Well, you see the other groups, and we'll talk.
No one.
Yeah, we'll talk about the final this past weekend. But to me, like, wouldn't you want to grow your product, right? Like, LIV just trying to grow a brand. Like that's all they were kind of doing this year. And playing in Jeddah, all right, you're on late at night when I think your kind of target audience is, you know, is the United States. Like not to be conceited, but
yeah, I mean it's mainly that's the main probably.
I mean, you had like over half your events here in the United States, so I assume that's your target audience and some of like your quote unquote people you want to bring on to be sponsorship. No one was really at the event, and nobody really could watch the event or stayed up or cared to watch the event. Like, to me, that just doesn't seem like a good brand strategy. Like, and I get they're not like, it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with, from a brand strategy standpoint, that made no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my guess is when they implement or started everything, they obviously have investment dollars from Saudi Arabia and that. So they were like, we're going to do this golf course. It's going to be a part. I'm curious if it'll be, and we'll talk about next season for LIV. But I also think it was like, I don't think that's like, I think they had other things that they worried about this season, and that was especially was like, no, like they probably expected that. I don't know, it could be wrong, but
yeah, I mean they could have. Yeah, maybe that's just because they wanted to have it in Saudi Arabia. Like that would be maybe the guys that are investing. One of those guys belong there,
and I'm sure like. I think they had a big pro-am there probably, so that was maybe the bigger thing. But right. I don't know. We don't know that.
I just thought it was weird. Like from not taking away the golf or anything, I just thought it was weird from a strategy standpoint that you couldn't really stay up and watch it because it was in the middle of the night. Yeah. And two, and again, it's on YouTube. You can go back and watch it. Yada yada yada. But I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
Yeah. Well, speaking of YouTube, the way they put those like highlight packages together for each round, it's usually like 18 minutes. Very good. Like that's something that's very enjoyable.
I think they're executing like the digital strategy very well.
And we'll talk about a little bit of like end of the year grades. I'm calling this year 0 for LIV. I don't even think I'm calling it year 1.
Yeah, I don't think they would even call it year 1.
The next year, like yes, they have their inaugural, but like I think next year is going to be like the first big thing. So we'll talk about it. But championship took place at Trump Doral in Miami this past weekend. Cool format, just so everyone understands. The top 4 teams that went into it received a bye. I don't remember the 4 teams off the top of my head. 5 through 8 seeded teams got to pick who their opponent was. So the 5 seed got to pick whoever, 6 seed, blah, blah, blah. 2 of the teams that were in that 5 through 8 bucket actually ended up going to the finals. But you for that, you did a match play. And the 5 seed, basically, it was Brooks' team took on like the Nibliks, which was Pyatt's team. I just know that because we followed. And what it was 2 singles matches. You have 4 guys on your team, 2 singles matches, and an alt shot match. Whatever team gets 3 matches, wins 2 of the 3 matches, moves on. There's no ties or whatever. It was so that happened that day. Then Saturday happened for the semis, and you get to your final 4 teams, and then on the finals, it's just aggregate stroke play. The team with the lowest score wins that day, and they win the team championship. I loved the format.
I think this is the format they need to do on a weekly basis.
100% agree. They need maybe. I think weekly would be great. Now, if you're trying to get this whole world golf rankings and stuff, I don't know. Maybe you just drop that and you steer. But if you're going to have 14 events next year, steer into like 5 or 6 of these because this match play, very easy to follow. The shotgun didn't bother me for once until the next day, of course, the final day. But like, it was so easy to understand. It was really cool to watch. And you kind of like bought into a team. Like, when I've watched, I could give a crap about how the Nibliks did other than how Pyatt did because we're slappies for him. Now I was like kind of rooting for Harold Varner to whoop on Brooks Koepka, which he did. Unfortunately, they lost the other 2 matches, so they didn't advance. We don't need to talk about James. But that execution of the team aspect and when it was really team-to-team, head-to-head matchup, when I heard about how it's like, I don't know how... Perfect. Flawless.
Yeah, that was
flawless.
Like, I would argue to say that was probably one of the best things they've done all season.
A highlight and in a great event, and like not a great, but in the best time for it. That's how we remember him going into next year. The stroke play thing was cool. I just would have done like they basically did 8 2-sums. I would have done the best for like A players, the B player. You have an A, B, C, D, and you make them 4-sums. And it was weird how they did shotgun. I would just have them go off 1, start with the 4s, 3s, and you just can kind of see the evolvement of the scores. That was a little harder to follow, but all in all...
I love how stubborn you are to just keep with the tee time thing. I love it.
The match play did not bother me with the tee times. But certain things I think you can do better without the shotgun. But if we're talking about like the Friday, Saturday stuff, that was awesome to watch. That was a lot of fun. Take out like the majors and some of the high profile events. That was more fun watching that golf than there was any other golf this year on PGA Tour. And again, taking out the majors and like some of the, I'm like saying the big names, so like I'm leaving it very vague here.
Yeah.
But I would like that was enjoyable for me to sit and watch.
Yeah,
compared
like
to
you said, like you get invested in the team. Like you said, you could care less about Harold Varner, but he's on James's team, and I think that's what's going to help some of these teams too. Is like you're going to find a player that you like, or Cam Smith's team. I think he's on the Majestic. So like that's you're going to find a player you like, and then you're going to root for his team. That's kind of like, again, not to relate it back to NASCAR, but that's how it's always like, oh, Chase Elliott fan, all right, I'm going to root for the Hendrick cars. Like that's just it. It's association. You're associating a player to a team that you want to root for.
Yeah.
Which again, if they can keep kind of getting like what they captured with us in that event, then you open up the opportunity to like buy merch. Like, oh, I want to get a Niblicks hat, or I want to get an Aces hat.
Yeah, and we'll get into like where that can go. Because I mean, like the branding of all that stuff is huge, and you get people emotionally invested. We talked about at the beginning, like from the first LIV, our kind of takes was we wanted them to steer more into team stuff in those events, and that's where we got that excitement. This one, the other 7 still were the exact same thing, and maybe they'll change next year. But I think I want more of steering into the team, whether it's the payouts or something. It's an afterthought. Yeah. Originally outside this event, so. But the 4 Aces end up winning the team championship. They were by far the best team this season. Yep. Pat Perez came to play. He tweeted out. He shot 2 under in the final round. But yeah, DJ Gooch, Pat Perez, and Patty Reed lift the trophy and win the inaugural LIV team championship. DJ, I think, brought in like $35 million for the year on top of his
not a bad. But contract. I still I see it and that's one of the things like Golf Digest loves to put out how much. I still did we get confirmation that $35 million just comes out of the $200 million he's getting?
No, I think it's not the case actually. I think what we've gathered is that's separate. Okay. At least for some of the big 9. I mean it's vague, but I think that the lawyer who said it in that legal proceeding fucked up basically.
Okay. So, but cuz that was the one thing, and I was trying to find stuff on it too. It was just all right, does this count against him or does it not? But all in all, so what? He made $35 million playing just in prize money, plus let's say he did what? He got $200 million, right? Or did he got 150?
I think he got $200 million.
Yeah, and then Phil got 250.
He might have gotten 150. And Phil might have gotten 100. I don't know. I mean,
regardless of the fact, let's say it's a 3-year deal, $50 million plus 35. I'm just saying it's a 3-year deal, $85 million to play golf in 8 events this year.
Yeah,
not bad.
So. Yeah, he won $35.6 million. Next was Brandon Gray, 16.6. Peter Uihlein third with 12.8. But if I go down to number 34, so I don't even have James on this list. The heck, man. They do. He's 35. There was just a gap in it. James, who was 35, made $1.936 million, almost $2 million.
Not bad.
Last person on it, Andy Ogletree, $120,000.
Thanks for coming out, Andy.
He played in one event.
Never will see you again.
So I mean, look, I think we both, at least I'm going to speak for myself. I want them to steer more into the team stuff. I think that's more fun. Whether or not, or how does that impact official world golf ranking? I don't know, but I think you're going to capture more of an audience if you do that, and it's going to be a little different. And I think doing the same thing as to what the PGA Tour has done, which has lost some of the fans and the interest. They kind of did the same thing. They just added a little bit of a twist, and I'm really hoping they steer more into the team stuff next year. But this, as a whole, was a very successful event. I found it very engaging, and it was easy to follow. And the team stuff is hard to follow sometimes because, I played high school golf. I understood kind of how they did it from that. But to maybe a person who doesn't follow a ton of golf or didn't do that, never played in a team, they might not understand exactly how the format works. And this was really easy to understand.
Yeah, again, they nailed it, and it was. I know it was kind of their end of the year celebration, but again, not to rain on the parade or anything here, but really the only groups that had people following were the big name groups, like DJ, like Cam Smith. It just, even the highlights I went through was just looking on social media, and they'd show random highlights of let's say Peter Uihlein. There was just nobody around him.
Yeah. And so that's where,
And they're saying like, oh, it's great for the fans. The fans are loving it, but like, are they actually?
Yeah, I want the fans. Like, I bet you if you go there, it's fun. Like,
It's a party, right?
I'm sure it's a fun part. It's golf, but louder. But if anyone doesn't know, that's their slogan. But if they had one in Detroit, I think I'd go. I want to like. I'm not gonna boycott. It's
Well, I even look at like the Rocket Mortgage Classic is a lower tier event in the PGA Tour season that gets a ton of people out there for.
Yeah. And how much were you paying to watch the guys of the Rocket Mortgage?
And they were paying, I think, $100.
Yeah, and I think these are cheaper. I think at LIV. I mean,
we got credentialed, not a big deal.
Yeah, good point. No big deal. So I guess like as a whole, year 0, if you just had to give it one grade the entire year, what would you give it? Now it's very vague. Like there's a lot of specifics.
I mean, if you give this thing anything less than an A, and I'm not even like the biggest.
I'd just be curious to hear your thoughts on why.
But I'm saying like I'm not even a big like LIV slappy, but like it is an A.
Yeah, no, I that's what.
Is that what would you give it?
I'm with you. I'm saying if I'd love to hear someone's hey, I give it a C. Why?
There's no way. There's no way.
Like of course there are things they can do better.
Right, they're agreed. But you went out and got Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, Patrick Reed, Bryson DeChambeau. Like you got some massive names in the world of golf that at the beginning of the year, we're not worried about them. Not a big deal.
Yeah, they were saying no. They were saying they're solid. Like, it's been very successful. I think we'll see what happens with the TV deal. Being on YouTube is nice. But it's nice for us who understand it. But that's not every person market. They are not getting a lot of like the team championship. They had 65,000 or something like people watching. Like that's not a lot.
No,
in the
not
grand.
at all.
Like I'd be curious what the Butterfield Bermuda got. Like I'm sure that might have gotten more. Now it's on cable. It's different than going to YouTube and ins and outs. But I'm with you. Like for what we expected going into the year, and maybe it's the problem is our expectations were low, but I think everyone's were. It's like they're doing this on a fucking whim. They're figuring it out as they go. There's things they can improve. Their website, how they get information out to the fans, certain things about their format, but you look at it and you go, you had the best champion they needed. They got Dustin, who was like in a perfect world. That's who won. They needed that. Yep. That was huge. The right guy won. He made a lot of money.
It was literally like the PGA Tour with Rory.
Exactly.
This year.
The best team won, which is good. And you disrupted to the point where the PGA Tour has changed a lot of their shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say. And if I'm the PGA Tour and I just watched what they did this past weekend, just if I want to scope into this past weekend. And there's been talks of the fall series is gone, and we don't really know exactly what it's going to look like next year. There's going to be some elevated events, but they're not going to the FedEx Cup. I am fully taking this bucket of players who I don't know how we're doing qualification or not, but bucket of players who maybe have the card earned for next year but can earn some more money, and I'm doing a 4-tournament fucking team series and figuring out a way to make it fun, whether it's alt shot, whether it's specific match play going through, or this would be a really cool thing that you do a 4-tournament series in the fall for the PGA Tour. It is a team-oriented thing, and based on whoever wins, earns their card for the next season. Like, if I'm insert Ricky Fowler before Ricky Fowler would be a good name. He's not a huge name from a standpoint can get into these big events in this fall if they did a team event. And he goes and his team wins the whole 4 series, he gets exemption, full status for the next season. Yeah. Like, I think there's ways you can do that. Maybe you're not going to get fully people in, but it's a different way to watch golf.
Yeah, and I think that too. Like, if you got guys that are, all these guys are fighting for tour cards, like, think of some of the bond that these guys would, be on a team together.
Yeah, and if people are going to say, well, that's bullshit if the team's the sixth guy who is what Pat Perez goes and gets to earn a full card. Well, it's like he was part of the team. Everyone signed up. Like, I don't know how they would do that all. I'm just surface level. I'm looking at it. You got to incorporate this somehow. And I don't, if I'm the PGA Tour, there's so many starts throughout the year, and I get you want to have these players, but if there's going to be events without FedEx Cup points associated, make them fun like this to earn a card. And I found it a lot more fun to watch. And
I guarantee you could get something like the Coca-Cola Fall Series. Like, there's big sponsorship money that would be thrown at
a team event sponsored by. So, and I've heard rumors that the PGA Tour's got some flack from some of their sponsors that aren't these elevated events. This would be an option to, because I signed a 10-year deal, and for, let's say, like if I'm rocking a mortgage and they didn't get named an elevated event, not that I think anyone expected, but they could be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, agreed. Like they just signed, I believe, to 2026.
Yes.
And like,
so now instead of us even getting some of the spillover of the good guys who are playing, they're so focused on all these elevated events, we're not getting any of them. Where before we got 7.
Which I was surprised they were going that route to begin with.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, you're going to do stuff that's going to fuck up everything. But I definitely think, like, cool, you have that one team event throughout the course of the season at the Zurich. Move that to the fall, make it a fall team series, and do something fun with that. And if these guys who earn into these premier events, they don't have to play, but then you have, I think you could have some fun with it.
Yeah.
And of course, like, we're challenging the PGA Tour to do something different.
Yeah. Well, and they have, I mean, they're already doing a good job at being different, but, getting back to the LIV thing,
I went on a tangent again.
I wanted, their grades. We talked about the grades and obviously all the players they got. Looking back, I never would have thought in a million years. I thought it would be like Phil and like Patrick Reed. Those would be the 2 main guys, and it'd be a bunch of just kind of no names competing like week in and week out, and they'd be outcast, and we'd never really hear from them again.
Which is what it was the first week. I mean, it'd be fun to look into like a crystal ball and be like, they don't get DJ. What happens to this thing? Doesn't even make it halfway through the year. But getting DJ, not from a standpoint of like, well, you still have all these other players. It's like, no, I don't think a lot of those guys go if DJ doesn't go.
Yeah.
Like DJ.
Because he was one of the first dominoes to fall, right?
And then Bryson waited a few events. Brooks waited. Like, Cam waited a while. Like, there's guys who waited. DJ was at the first event. And I think he had a lot to do. Like, he had a lot to do with getting guys to be more open to coming.
I think so, too. And, that's still a guy, out of all the guys that have left, to me, it seems that everyone's kind of still, not upset, but, like, just missed DJ being out there on tour. Like, I don't think a lot of the other guys were kind of cared for as much, but, it sounded like Cam Smith was kind of in his own little world out there on tour. Bryson, Patrick Reed, they're polarizing personalities. Like,
but they were entertaining to watch on television.
They were, but I'm saying, like, they weren't heavily, like, mingled in with those guys a lot on the PGA Tour, which DJ was.
Yeah.
You saw DJ doing stuff with a lot of the TaylorMade guys.
He was buddy with them.
Yeah, and so I think that was kind of like where it was, all right, if DJ can do it, anybody can go.
Yeah. So expectations for next season. There's going to be a 14 event series. We might see the teams change. We haven't heard a schedule yet. All I heard was there's going to be 9. I think what I gathered was it's going to be 5 American events and 9 international events. It could be flipped around. If I'm LIV and I'm going to do American events, I'm going to cities where there's not a PGA Tour event.
Yep.
Like what they do with Chicago and Boston. This like perfect.
Smart.
Go to big cities, like do that. But yeah, like I guess what's your expectation for next year? And then do you expect potentially other stars to go? And we'll get to some more rumors that I've heard, but
yeah, I don't, and you might know more than I do. I don't expect any bigger names to go, just because like the PGA Tour did change. Like they made it viable for these guys to stay and make a ton of money on the tour. Now, granted, they don't get the guaranteed contracts that LIV does. So, like, that's going to be another wrinkle in it. So, I could see some guys leave just because of that guaranteed money. And, again, don't even know if the money's guaranteed.
Yeah.
So, we'll see on that aspect. But I need to see a different trophy. That's, like, my big, like, dude, all the trophies are the same.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think, I think their website is going to be a lot better. I think there's going to be a lot more of, like, a buy-in to a team for the season. I think, like, let's call a spade a spade. I think so the way the teams were configured this past year, there were some favorites that were way better than others. If we want to talk about the South African team, obviously DJ's team that won it all, like, they were going to just be way better than others, just surface level. Like, I mean, so I think they're going to make it a little more fair and what I would call for, I'm completely blanking on the term, parity in the league than they maybe had this past season. But I do think, like, you talk about the fans aspect and, like, is it going to be on TV? Those are two things I think that they probably start to need to address. And, if I'm having LIV Golf, and the hard part, you have 48 players, so, like, they are relatively spread around the golf course, but if you're going to jam all the best players together, which you should, you're just going to really congest certain areas. But I like, as a whole, I think they'll fix a few things. I think it's going to be pretty successful. And
I think they could even get this thing big enough to where you're doing 2 shotguns a day, 48 in the morning, 48 in the afternoon. And
the problem is they've had like a bleak bottom 12.
Yeah, but if they want to get world ranking points, why wouldn't you open up the doors to like, hey, 96 guys, 2 days, or after the first or second round, you got to cut, you're down to 48.
Well, and do you think that LIV should just drop the World Golf thing and just be like, until we get into compliance? Like, there's been so much energy focused on that.
I think LIV Golf would drop the rankings thing if it wasn't for the players. The players are the ones that want the rankings.
Yeah, well, that was a big thing, getting them. But like for example, some of the older guys who've joined, like Charles Howell, Pat Perez, I think they're like, dude, I'm collecting my check.
Yeah.
I was on the PGA Tour for a while. I don't care a ton. If I can get it, great, but I'm not going to like die on this hill.
Correct.
Whereas like a guy like Bryson, obviously, like, no, I still want to play in the majors. I still want to be competitive. I don't think the majors are going to have difficult decisions. I think it's just, hey, did you qualify based on our criteria? No, cool. Go qualify in open qualifying for the, obviously, the U.S. Open and the
yeah, well, and then I guess, the one thing we haven't talked about yet is the CEO of LIV Golf came out and said, like, if they're not going to let them into the majors, I'll just create my own majors.
Yeah, which, like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I think majors, you fantasize about majors because of the history.
The PGA Tour has been trying to do that with the players forever. They've made it the highest person golf up until LIV for the last couple of years. And, like, I think it's getting to the point, well, it's gotten to the point where it's like, hey, how many majors do you have? Okay, I have 2 majors, but I also have players. Like,
correct, yeah.
Like it's you're mentioning that in the same breath, but it's not a major.
It's a half major.
Yeah, look, if I win that, if I win a players and I didn't have any majors in my career, I think that's still like I'd be very like happy.
Yeah, I mean it's too same token as a World Golf Classic.
Oh, I know. I think a players is a way bigger deal than like a WGC.
Do you really?
100%.
But like the WGC, you're getting the top 50 in the world at the time playing.
Yeah, the only difference with the WGC, it's a limited field event.
Right.
It's usually like 70 guys. There's no cut. I think that one's like show up, get a paycheck. Where the players, there is some like, I would say like career milestone with that win. I would put it as it's the biggest event outside the majors, I think, which they've done. But I don't group the two together. That's my point.
Yeah, so I get like to that point though. Now with these elevated events coming, it's no better than the elevated events.
Yeah, well, I think the purse is only $5 million more. But
I would. Where would you rather win? Would you rather win at TPC Sawgrass or would you want to win at Bay Hill in the Arnold Palmer?
I'd rather win at TPC Sawgrass.
See, I would rather.
But it's more money. You beat more people.
But I'm saying from like take that aspect of it, it's not really like that much of a better event.
You're right. There's not much of a okay.
Like the Arnold Palmer Invitational was like Arnie's, like that was his tournament, or the Memorial with Jack, like that's kind of got more history behind it, like
than the players.
Right, and those are going to be elevated events on the tour next year. So now they're kind of the same. Like the only
you're
reason
watering it down is what you're saying.
Yeah, you're watering the players down. Mm-hmm. So now it's kind of back to level. But the only reason the players was kind of on its little pedestal was because of the race purse.
Well, I think it was the race purse, but I also think it was clearly the best field in golf. The players, it was better than any of the majors typically. Maybe the PGA Championship has a really good field, but then you have the 20 PGA professionals, so I think that would weaken it. But it was usually the best field and the deepest from like how many guys were in it. But how long have the players been going on? Almost 50 years, I think.
Yeah.
So it's taken a while to get to that point.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to creating your own majors, you can't just do that, and especially like how you've added somewhat of like for Norman, how you've made this to be somewhat of a relevant tour is you just throw money. Like, how are we going to throw anything but more money at these guys for majors?
Now looking at it is like, do you think you can just make up a major now, or does it have to be something that has historic?
I think it's got to be organic growth.
So you're saying like eventually the players could be a 5th major.
Well, I think
if the PGA, if they ever wanted to denounce that as a 5th major, they could.
Yeah, well, I think,
but it's not something
the PGA Tour kind of has because they want to be included in it.
Right, but they can't just sit there and say, "All right, we got this new event coming. It's our 5th major."
Yeah, correct. I mean, again, we're like the players. It's still even a hard argument to make, and it's been around for 45, 50 years. Right. So yeah, I agree, 100%.
So like I think that's to our point, and the way our mind works, and other people can say like, "No, you can create a major anytime you want." That's why that refutes the CEO of LIV Golf saying we'll just create.
Exactly.
Yes, you can do an elevated expedition of like that's what everybody would call
it. Expedition Ford.
Expedition. You're gonna go traveling. Exhibition. Excuse me. But like you can throw as much money as you want at it. It just won't ever be a major. I think just because of the way golf is perceived as a major.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think for anyone out there who's going to say, well, the Masters wasn't a big deal the first year it came out or the second year it came out, it took a lot of years of growth and development. Exactly.
But golf wasn't even.
But my whole point is exactly like maybe, I don't know if that first year the Masters was there, it was considered major. I doubt it. I can't speak to it. But I think that just because people say there's a lot of money and it's an important tournament doesn't make it that. And so
it'd be interesting to go back and look when all like the majors were actually denounced as
like,
or
well,
announced.
it used to be the British Am, the US Am, the US Open, and the British Open. That used to be what it was until the PGA Championship got
like
bigger, and then they saw this Masters.
Even
thing.
when like the British Open happened, like right away, was that installed as a major?
I don't think so because people were like, it's the best golf tournament in the world,
Right.
but it's not a major. And
Yeah,
so,
I wonder if there's any historical facts behind like when all these like the term major, I guess, came into play in golf.
I'm gonna try to find this out while we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, this is we're kind of going down a wormhole here, and I know we got sidetracked, but it led us to you can't just create a major, in my opinion.
So according to Wikipedia, I quickly saw something about like 1950 is when it was kind of like first,
where people kind of started saying it was.
Yeah, I'll keep trying to read for you and figure it out, but
yeah,
what I'm gathered, that's kind of what it looks like, which I think the Masters had been going on for.
So then here's an argument on that is, all right, let's say the, and I know this is all hypothetical right now, but it's, it's slow time in the golf world. But let's say the Players becomes a fifth major. Do all the people that prior to it being called a major
get the major championship?
You get the major championship title with it?
Well, I think like technically, yeah, because you consider like Francis Ouimet a major champion.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah.
But now if I'm sitting here
is Cam Smith a two-time major champ then? Because he won the Players and the Open?
Right. So I'm sitting here from the standpoint too is like, I want to say no though.
Yeah, no,
I want to say no. Like even though I know that's how like they've done it prior, but I feel like there's a different mentality coming into an event knowing it's a major, right?
Yeah, I basically, I think.
Or is it because the sport was so new that like, all right, we're just gonna give these guys majors and call it a day? I don't know. I know it's a lot to unravel, but it's just different. Like it's different seeing a sport evolve to the level that we're seeing it this year because of all the changes that are happening.
Yeah. Okay.
And we haven't seen that with any of the major sports in our time.
Exactly. Well, yeah, a big split like this, and where it's been as successful as this has been. I mean, obviously there's been attempts at it, but yeah. So what I've gathered, in the 1950s, there was a World Championship of Golf, that was 10 times more of a purse than anything else in the game. And so some somewhat considered this a major, but it was shortly lived, and the event eventually washed away. Arnold Palmer won his couple Open championships in the early 60s, and in an article with the Pittsburgh writer, it looks like on here, he referred to winning the Masters, the Open Championship, the U.S. Open, and the PGA Championship as the Grand Slam of golf, and I think that's kind of what prompted it. So in the 60s.
Okay.
But the Masters have been going on for a while.
Since 1934.
Yeah, so...
Or that's when it was built. 39 might have been the first
So the point to that is you can't just... It's a major now! Like, the Players is not a major. It's been around for 45 years.
Right, yeah.
As a big event, as the PGA Tour's flagship event, so...
Yeah, which, I know a lot of this was hypothetical talk, but, again, it goes back to LIV Golf just saying, hey, we'll create our own majors. You can give as much money as you want. It won't ever be a major in the world of golf eyes because of the foundation that was laid before all of us being alive.
Exactly. So...
that might be, like, my best take I've ever had.
Make sure to clip it up for TikTok.
Might have to.
I want to tell you, so 4 names have been rumored that have come out ever since the end of this, and only one of the names is a newer name. Obviously, Mito Pereira was a name rumored to leave after the President's Cup. He has not. He has recently been floated again, and I think with like Joaquin Niemann, and it's I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but definitely someone worth looking at. Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, again, rumored. And here's the thing. There's been a lot of rumors, and I think a lot of times it's smoke and mirrors drum up by people within LIV to try to create more, basically PR about it. Any PR is good PR in their mind. And if they're talking about it.
I will say Patrick Cantlay, watching when he gave his talks at the Rocket Mortgage, He said he didn't have any plans, but he never said he wasn't going.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what's created these rumors. Like, neither of them have been, like, some guys who have joined LIV were very against it, like, have came out and said they're sellouts, stuff like that. Like, these guys have not been like, I'm pledging my fealty, like, or they're sellouts if you go to LIV. Like, so they've given themselves an option to do that. So just, it's worth mentioning those two names. I think if they get it, huge. And then the fourth name, which this guy makes a lot of sense. He's a good player, hits the ball far. He was really good when he came out of college, but then kind of lost his game, and he spent a lot of time in Europe. But Thomas Pieters, the Belgian bomber, that would be someone who, unless he really cares about Ryder Cups, which you still can play in the Ryder Cup potentially, they don't know yet for the European side. His name just makes a lot of sense to be a player. He's like better than Peter Uihlein, but kind of Peter Uihlein-esque, I would say. So I just want to mention those names.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked either, too, is if, let's say LIV goes on and it continues does its own thing for a couple years, and everyone has their leads. I wouldn't be surprised if it died down and, like, PGA Tour eventually was like, all right, now we'll take your top players like DJ back in the Ryder Cup, and because it just makes those events better. Again, with the majors, so I don't think the majors can turn LIV Golf away because it will just diminish their own product.
Well, yeah, and I think with the majors, it's like, hey, if you qualify, great. If you don't, whatever. And what the majors could do is, similar to how if Phil won the PGA and he gets a 5-year exemption, maybe it's like, hey, your top 3 or 5 individual finishers from the season receive exemptions in all the majors. That's it. Everyone else has to qualify on their own, or other ways. So they could. I think those are things that would be a better avenue. Yeah,
I wonder too, like if LIV Golf would have taken, like, not thrown everything at the table. Let's say they just took all these young players like Pyatt and all these young, like, guys that didn't have status. Let's say they didn't take the PGA Tour players, but they were throwing all this money at guys like James Pyatt,
Eugenio Chacarra,
like throwing guys at them, getting people like raised interest about it. But again, wasn't stealing their players, and then like the players came to them.
Well, yeah, I think twofold. I think that would have folded quickly. Like,
because then the PGA Tour would have just responded, maybe, or
I just don't think people would have cared to watch.
I still don't think people care. Like, yeah, all right, that was been a bad.
People, you're right. You're like the people who care are the contrarians who want to just argue and be like the bulldozer in the world. Like those are the people who act like they care, but I think they just act like they care because they want to be different. They want to be a contrarian instead of like actually giving a shit about it. That's my thing. I think they're like more about I want to be a dick. And that's, I think, like, what you could say was the one thing that LIV could do better at is they've kind of been, like, double middle finger in on the way out.
Yeah.
Not all the players, but I think that's kind of the persona of LIV, and it's like, fuck you, and it's, no, I think you could be a little more respectful. But
in their defense, too, they did try to come to the PGA Tour with some type of agreement, and PGA Tour was like, nah, we don't need you.
Yeah, well, exactly, and that's a topic for another day.
That's Jay Monahan. We've kind of talked about that.
Yeah, but I guess anything else on LIV that you wanted to talk on? Or?
No, I'll be interested to see if any of the team names change a little bit.
I think, branding, you mentioned, I think we should just, so I think that's what we're going to see. And I'm thinking the team names will change. I don't know how much and which ones will. But I think that's going to be a big thing is, like Bubba, for example, is the captain of Team Niblix. Like whether or not they're the Niblix next year or not, but like that is a team that can quickly create some sort of, hey, we're this team, and this is our merch. Like you talk about merch, promotion, this stuff. Hell, we might want to create Instagram handles that probably already are, but for some of these teams and try to like. Speaking
of Bubba, I don't mean this popped in my head. Did you see the clip of him when he was doing the reporting, and they jumped over to their on-course reporter Sue Ann, and he called her Suzanne.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And she was like, just completely called him out on it. I was like, all right, that's entertainment.
Some entertainment. He also told the guys to shut up at one point when he was like trying to listen to the caddy conversation.
One thing too. This is very minuscule. I hate the microphone in the cup.
I do too. That's dumb. Like
hate it. It doesn't.
It was the same thing when the US Open or USGA did it. Like I was like, this is annoying.
It's not the same sound.
No.
It's not a good sound.
No, I'm with you 100%. I get rid of that.
I was watching over the weekend. I was like, I hate this. Like DJ made a long putt. It's like, and that then it was like ding ding ding.
Yeah, like
I'd
rather than voice over a natural sounding cup.
Crowd roars I'm used to on like big putts that matter, and they got a little cheer, but the cup sound.
Yeah, no.
It's just way too loud for like. It's just offset. Like it goes.
It doesn't sound like how it sounds when you're golfing. That's what's.
Yeah. That one earns an F in my book.
But I'm curious how the roster makeup will be next year.
Yep.
And
I want to see like a big like beginning of the season draft.
That's what like we thought they were going to do at the beginning of the year, and they didn't. That was a missed opportunity, and I'm sure they're already going to pick teams, but maybe you do a big event to release the teams. I don't know, you have some fun with it. Like we're literally recording today on NFL trade deadline day, and what was a ton of fun was a lot of changes in rosters and stuff being swapped. I'm not saying you have a trade deadline in this, but create some sort of free agency day or, like that is fun stuff for people to get more involved with in the offseason.
Yeah, and they're trying to take like the F1 approach with the celebrations and whatnot. I used to watch the All-Star race in NASCAR, and they would do like driver intros. Like, who the players are and everything. All right, do like a big team reveal at the beginning of the year, like 2-time major champion, 2010 Masters, like.
And they very well could.
Yeah, like let's kick it. And I'm sure they're going to, like, just based on the way they've gone about things. But like those are things I wouldn't mind seeing.
What they should do is what obviously you have the Drive to Survive thing, what they're doing with the PGA Tour this upcoming year. They like, if I'm LIV, I'm just trying to do that exact same thing for LIV, and you make it a YouTube series, 15-minute episode after each event or something. Like you could have some fun. Hey, we follow this team around,
dude. If they wanted to, like, if they just got the way people have like ran to F1 because it's a cool thing. If they got a Netflix documentary, and I know that they just did the one with the PGA Tour, but do one to have someone like, you guys got all this money, pay Netflix to come do a huge.
Well, yeah, and I'm not, even if it's not Netflix, it's Hulu or just do it on YouTube. Like you could have some fun, I think, with getting more content out there.
Unfiltered. These guys unfiltered.
We all agree the PGA Tour content sucks.
Yeah,
I think, and they're trying to be like hip and cool, but it's like you're trying too hard and it's too far behind.
It's like you're trying and you don't know what you're doing because you own all the rights and no one else can do anything with the video.
And they're like doing what was cool 3 or 4 years ago.
Right, yeah.
So like they'll get on TikTok when TikTok's coming down.
Correct.
Like it's just like cool.
And Vine comes back.
Yeah. They're starting to create Vines right now. All right, well that rounds up the LIV talk. We got the birdie, the bogey, but I'm going to parlay this into a question for you because I feel like it's a fun topic to talk about, but you've played Torrey Pines. I've played Torrey Pines. I'm heading to Austin this week, which is my birdie of the week. Can't wait. My bogey, leaving my girlfriend. Listen to that. Just it's going to be terrible missing her. So, no, but birdie of the week. I'm going to Austin in one of the rounds. I mean, we're splurging on one round, and we're playing Austin Country Club, which is where they have the Dell Technologies match play. It's a lot of fun, really good match play course.
Yep.
It's an expensive round. Everything else is going to be at other ones, but. What it prompted was the question, you've played Torrey, which is a PGA Tour stop. Like, what is one course on the PGA Tour that you haven't maybe played? Like a reoccurring place. So like Congaree wouldn't be an option, but like that you haven't played that would be a ton of fun to go try and play at that golf course that you think would be one you'd love to do. Take out like Augusta because that doesn't count.
Okay, and take out maybe
like the major venues, like a reoccurring.
Okay, so like
you TPC Scottsdale, Pebble Beach, the main stakeholders.
Yeah, you said take those ones out.
No, include those. That's what I'm saying.
Those?
Take out like majors, basically.
I mean, there's a ton. Like TPC Scottsdale, but I would want to play it with like with the stadium up.
Yeah,
I
you don't have to have the crowd, but
you don't have to have the crowd. I just want it with like the stadium up.
Yeah,
and that's one thing I haven't ever like. Even when the Rocket Mortgage is here. I would love to play on a golf course just with the grandstands up.
We might need to make that happen next year.
Yeah, I've never done it, and that's something I think would just be a cool atmosphere to be in because that takes you back to being a little kid a little bit, where no one could be up there and you could do like a hat tip or even like act like just be an asshole and like wave to the crowd. Like I think that would be very cool to do, especially at
it's
TBC. I mean, Bay Hill comes into mind. Haven't played there. I played in Orlando a ton, but have not played there. TBC Sawgrass is really expensive to play at.
What's going through my head right now is Sawgrass would be.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the question, like what state is. But if I had to pick one, it's still Kapalua in Hawaii.
Oh, see that okay, that's a good one. That was, and as we were talking, I quickly switched my answer. My number one would be Riviera. Okay. Like if I could go play a PGA Tour course. not including the majors, I would do Riviera, but I think we both included Scottsdale up there because that would be fun.
Yeah, I think those
with
are
the
kind
stipulation of the grandstands around.
Yeah, I feel like that one, Sawgrass, like in my opinion, that's kind of like a no-brainer one, right?
Yeah,
like
it's like almost Sawgrass is included in the major.
Yeah,
bucket.
everybody, even TPC Scottsdale with the stadium, I think people just like, yeah, like that's a no-brainer. Of course, like Riviera, that wouldn't have been one I just kind of think in my head that you'd overlook. But Kapalua, I get like, so I actually saw somebody that I knew from high school out there playing a couple, and I was just so jealous.
Yeah.
I was like,
that would be cool.
I was like, that would just be, and have you played there?
I've been in Hawaii. We didn't play there.
Okay.
Brother-in-law's played it a while back. It's expensive, I've heard. But,
yeah, I've heard it too. Unless I think if you know somebody, you could actually get.
I mean, look, the views would be awesome. I mean, you're in the middle of a volcano in Hawaii, like.
Yeah, well, and that's why I like watching on TV, like in January too. It's like I think it's like whale season there too. Like,
yeah,
they play like
on-time golf too, man. I can't wait.
I know, and they play what's the somewhere over the rainbow, like the Hawaiian version. Yeah. I was like, this is just, and it's middle of the winter here, and it's just, I was like, it's the vibes are just off the roof for watching some premium golf.
Well, that was a good one. I was not expecting Kapalua. So
yeah, Kapalua is definitely like, again, that one's up there for me.
Well, so what's your birdie of the week though?
Birdie of the week.
Lions traded Hawkinson.
That we could go on a whole nother podcast about that one. But it does relate to, you can't get out of here without talking fantasy football.
No. 0-4-4.
Well, I did start one league 0-4, made a bunch of trades. Don't know how I pulled some of these trades off. Team is a wagon. Got it to 3-5. But I did win all my redraft leagues 3-0.
Wow. Okay. There
so
you go.
It was a great week and when the Lions suck ass, all we have are fantasy football.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you have the Lions losing and you're losing in fantasy football, Sundays suck terribly. I can't imagine, like, I try to remember what it was like in 2013 when the Lions were good, and I can't for whatever reason. I think it was because I used to work a lot of Sundays, so I don't know how much of Lions football I actually truly watched back then. But I can't imagine how enjoyable a Sunday would be, being lazy on a Sunday, watching good football. Like, I am so jealous of Bills fans, Kansas City fans.
Fuck Green Bay. I mean, like Green Bay until this year had been good.
Yeah.
Like
even teams that are
Tennessee.
Like Tennessee, like
they're somewhat like they lead their division.
Yeah, they're kind of like, yeah, you got Derrick Henry, but they built like
San Fran.
Their quarterback's not that good.
Yeah.
Like the Lions just cannot win games on Sundays, and it is so depressing.
It's odd. And you saw like the Barstool Power Rankings. They had like of the four major sports. I think all Detroit teams were like in the bottom. I want to say it was
bottom 110.
So it was the bottom 14 teams.
Yes.
In the power rankings, were all like four of them were Detroit teams, which is.
And obviously it's all opinion based. Like they have the Pistons.
It's all opinion, and I think it was over the course of the last 5 years. So like the Wings, you could say are on the up. But they were the Lions were worse than the Wings, but like I was surprised the Wings were behind the Pistons and Tigers.
And I actually heard Jake Marsh, who did it on he does the Part of My Take podcast, and he replied to somebody. He goes, "But you finished last in your division like the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
that's why they got that ranking.
Yeah, so
he's not actually watching every single team, every single.
Yeah, and he's not like doing it on today. Like he's basing it off 5-year history. So
right.
Either way, tough look for Detroit sports.
Yeah. So that birdie was fantasy football. And I turned, I guess bogey.
29.
That's kind of my bogey, I guess you could say. It's my last year. It's the last year of our 20s.
We are both in our final year of our 20s.
Yeah, which is not like, I don't feel 29 at all. I remember looking back at 29 as a kid. I was like, damn, he's so old. Like, I can't wait.
Oh, it's fucked.
Yeah, no, it's not. Like, my parents had 5 kids by this point. And I'm just like, no.
Yeah. Well,
I don't even want to have one kid in the next 5 years.
Different world, man.
Yeah. So that's, I guess happy birthday to myself and
1 year older.
But like birthdays suck. Like there's nothing fun about birthdays moving forward.
I'm kind of with you. Like people get all excited. I usually have had like the birthday blues. I didn't this year. There's reasons why we don't need to get into those. But like I'm with you. You're like a year older and you're like, fuck.
My last birthday, I think maybe I was excited about was 25.
Yeah. 30 is a big one.
Yeah. But like 26 suck. You go off your parents' insurance.
Yeah.
Not fun.
I made terrible jokes about that. People would laugh at me.
Yeah.
We don't need to rehash those.
Like if my parents want to insure me for forever, like they should be able to. Like whatever.
Yeah, just a package. It's like a cell phone plan.
Yeah, like I didn't ask to be born into this world.
Yeah, fuck.
But like, there's nothing said 27, 28. I mean, 29 now. 30, I think 30 will actually be pretty fun.
And it's like 40, 50, 60.
Yeah, those are the only ones that are really kind of somewhat like, it's not even that they're exciting. It's just more of a looking back, I think.
It's a milestone.
It's a milestone, yeah. It's not, but we are supposed to, like, we're trying to maybe plan a trip to Oktoberfest in Germany for
That'd be cool.
30th. So it's my golden birthday. I turned 30 on the 30th, so.
Okay, well, that is your
golden birthday.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, so that's
my guy Adrian, who I'm going to Austin with, was just at Oktoberfest.
Oh, okay.
He was there for work and happened to be there at the same time.
Not bad timing on his part.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, that's kind of that was my bogey. It was getting a year older, but not that I'm like super upset about it, but just like once you hit a certain age, birthdays aren't very fun anymore.
Mm-hmm. No, I know.
What about your bogey? You gave your birdie. Well, your bogey was leaving your.
I'm leaving my girlfriend. You know, tough. Yeah. No, it's just end of the year type thing. Golf season's winding down, but yeah, you know, I'm trying to be very positive right now.
I started
kind of cynic lately.
I was kind of getting like not like the seasonal blues. It kind of was bugging me a little bit. I was like, damn, like because for me, not being working golf business anymore, that was the fastest summer of my entire life. I kind of looked up. I was like, damn, I actually didn't really take advantage of summer like I probably should have. But I started working out again, and it's crazy. Like it's crazy what working out can do for your mentality. Mm-hmm. It's like it's unbelievable, and like. There's been like shit going on, like not like personal life, not to say like too off track, but like just stuff that I wish would have gone a different way. And I'm not like too down about it just because like you just have your endorphins going and like you're just feeling better.
No,
so
I've found that it is a mental reprieve sometimes if you're encouraged. I haven't worked out in like 10 days because I've been busy. So
yeah,
maybe I need to get a sweat in.
I've been going like 3-4 times a week right now, and it's been great. So sucks getting out of bed that early in the morning, but I will say
you'd rather do it before than after work. I'll tell you that.
I will say one thing I did a couple weeks ago, and I know we got to kind of wrap this thing up, but I woke up at 6 a.m. because I was going to go to the gym. And the first thing I did, I woke up, I was like, oh shit, like I need to order a new furnace filter because, you know, just getting ready to turn your heat on. I got to order that. And then like my blinds, when my cousin lived with me, the dogs had messed up the blinds and I hadn't replaced them yet. I was like, yeah, I got to order blinds. So I literally woke up, ran downstairs, grabbed a tape measure, measured out the blinds on the front room and in the back room, and then went downstairs and got the size for the furnace filter and ordered those at 6:10 in the morning. I was like, that's how you know you're getting fucking old.
That's domesticated.
Yeah, I was like, what? Like,
I painted a door on Sunday instead of watching football. That was tough for me.
My brother went and did yard work because he can't watch the Lions anymore.
That's a smart man.
He goes, I just refuse. He's like, I refuse to let them ruin my Sundays anymore.
Red Zone's my main thing of watch. I don't watch the Lions. I watch Red Zone. And
but the problem with Red Zone is the Lions are always within a score, so they always go to that game. And like, if the Lions can take it downfield, like,
no, they don't. We know.
Yeah, we know how this ends up.
Same story, different year.
Yeah, I don't know what to do, but moving forward for the podcast, I think our goal, like, I know we said like every other week.
Yeah, we're just gonna play it by ear.
We're kind of gonna play. I'll try to make sure I do a better job at everyone that does listen to this regularly about letting you know like when we're just in a dead zone.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if there's not any huge news in the next 2 weeks, we probably won't record. But if there's a big news with LIV releases new teams or LIV updates their format for next year, or the PGA Tour change, like we're gonna base it off of those until probably next season when we get into Kapalua and other stuff.
Yeah, and we're keeping it a true golf podcast. I mean, you know us, we don't get up here and really kind of banter around like too much about other things. Like,
yeah,
we're keeping it true to golf podcast. And the reality is it's just a slow time. It's the off season for golf.
Yeah, we're winding down our season 1 of Lippin Putts Podcast.
Yeah, so there we go.
Yeah, we don't know when the finale will be, but there will be a finale.
Yeah, and then we'll get fired back up when we go to Kapalua.
Exactly.
For the Century
Maybe we'll get
Champions.
credential.
Yeah, no, that would be so fucking sweet.
That would be.
I'd be all in on that. But I don't think. I mean, we do got some good weather left here in Michigan.
I know, and I'm leaving for fucking Austin.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're gonna have some great weather down there. You're gonna have good weather in the South all year. I know we got listeners out there. So, if you are playing some golf this weekend, Sam, I know you are. Make sure you hit them far, hit them straight.
I won't, but thank you.